The Dallas Stars get shut out 4-0 in their preseason opener against the St. Louis Blues, and the season is over. The Dallas Stars are terrible, and this season is a waste. I'm, of course, just kidding. It's time to overreact to the first Dallas Stars preseason game that we saw in the 2022-2023 season. We'll talk about the kids and how good they look despite the loss. We'll talk about the two goalies that played in the game, Anton Khudobin and Jake Oettinger. And we'll talk about some other talented players as well as also we will look ahead to tonight's game, the Dallas Stars playing again in Oklahoma against the Arizona Coyotes. All of this coming up on a Tuesday episode of Locked On Stars.
Your Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans. Welcome back to the Locked On Stars podcast, the only daily podcast covering the Dallas Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Dane Lewis, your local expert on all things Dallas Stars hockey, credentialed member of the Dallas Stars media, coming to you on this Tuesday, September 27th. And whether this is your first time here or you are a recurring Locked On Stars listener, thank you for stopping by today's episode and for making Locked On Stars your first listen of the day. If you're new here, please do hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Help us reach 1,000 followers by the end of 2022. If you're listening on a podcasting platform, feel free to hit the follow button on there as well, whether that be Apple, whether it be Spotify. And if you like the show, you can leave a 5-star rating or review, and it helps spread awareness to other potential podcast listeners to finding our show. And lastly, you can find and follow us on social media. Just search Locked On Stars on Instagram and Twitter. You can find my personal Twitter account at Dane_Lewis. But let's get right down to business. The Dallas Stars took part in their first preseason game of this new NHL year last night in Dallas against their rivals, the St. Louis Blues, and they fall 4-0, which may seem like kind of a dud of a game, a bad game, not a lot to talk about, but you would be wrong, and I imagine many of you were either at the game or you watched it. There was a free live stream on the Dallas Stars website, which was great for those of us like me, wasn't at the game, but was able to tune into the live stream and hear the silky smooth voice of Brian Ray and Brett Severin, the faces of the Dallas Stars preseason show that airs on TV before every single game. Really nice to get to watch Stars hockey yet again and see them in action really for the first time against another NHL team. And there are still a lot of stories from this game, a lot of really good things to take away despite a 4-0 loss. And also, when you take into account this loss, you also do need to keep in mind that the St. Louis Blues already had one preseason game under their belt. They played on Saturday over the weekend against the Arizona Coyotes. That's not, of course, the only reason that they won in this game, but I think that that does factor in that they already had that one game against other, real legit competition in the Coyotes. And this is the Stars' first outing, a team that is going to look drastically different than what the opening night roster will look like, as many of the Dallas Stars starters and huge key contributors and role players not on the roster tonight, but likely will be suiting up either tonight or later on in the week as the preseason continues to roll on. I believe it is 6 games in about the span of 10 days or so. So a lot of preseason action coming our way for the Dallas Stars. But like I said, plenty of good to take away from this game. The two best things about this game were the kids, especially Wyatt Johnston and Logan Stankoven. They played the majority of the game alongside the grizzled veteran captain, Jamie Benn. And this was an incredibly fun line to watch. I don't really think this line came into fruition until around the second period. But once this line was formed, and every time they were out on the ice, it was must-see TV. They were incredibly fun to watch, and they played some incredibly efficient minutes. They combined for 9 shots on goal, and they had so many good looks at the net. Unfortunately, none of them were able to connect, but you cannot have watched this game and say that the Dallas Stars, especially Ben, Johnston, and Stankoven were not generating opportunities to score. You got to give props to the St. Louis Blues goalies that were in net. They had a rotation of 2 goalies, just like the Dallas Stars. They did a really good job in their own right, but the Stars certainly were generating their opportunities offensively, especially when these 3 were on the ice. And Wyatt Johnston especially was fantastic in this game. Led all the Stars forwards in time on ice with 18 minutes and 15 seconds, and he was second in forward, second ranking amongst the forwards in power play time on ice for the Stars at 2 minutes and 19 seconds. The only other Dallas Star to log more power play minutes was Maverick Bourque at 2 minutes 26 seconds, so not a ton of separation there, but really encouraging to see Johnston getting a lot of play time and kind of getting the green light from this coaching staff here in the preseason to say, okay, you want a spot on this roster. You've obviously played at an extremely high level and you're with your junior club, and you've also verbally expressed your desire to be on the NHL roster this season, and they're giving him an opportunity to go out and show that. And I think that, he's taking that by the reins, and he is making a legitimate case to be on this opening night roster for the Dallas Stars, which is incredibly exciting and just encouraging given what we've seen from Johnston over the past calendar year, where he did go play with the Windsor Spitfires and have a historic season with that club. And then he comes, to misses development camp in the summer, but then comes into training camp, has a really nice camp, really nice scrimmage, a really nice time up in Traverse City, especially in that first game that they played against the Toronto Maple Leafs. And now here in his first preseason game of the season, making a huge impact alongside Logan Stankoven, who, man, if this is a sign of things to come for the next 10 years or so, we as Stars fans should be thrilled to get to watch these two potentially play together, especially if they're going to be paired on a same line. Who knows if we'll see them be paired on the same line with a third player for the entirety of their time in Dallas, and especially this season, will they get played with Jamie Benn? I have to imagine that the coaching staff was making notes of that, saying maybe Jamie Benn just needs to play alongside 2 young, fresh, fast, talented players. I mean, it was just quite the trio to watch every time they were on the ice. You just had the sense that they were eventually going to connect. Maybe if they get to play all 3 periods of the game together, maybe they do record at least 1 goal, but nonetheless, an incredibly fun game to watch from those 3. Definitely my biggest takeaway from the game was how gifted those 3 looked. And even guys like Maverick Bourque looked really sharp at certain times in this game as well. But man, Wyatt Johnston and Logan Stankoven seem to be as good as advertised. Both of them just dominating the Canadian Hockey League this past year, and both of them looking and desiring to be on the NHL roster at the start of this season, and both of them making a very strong case. And I'm excited to see how they continue to perform throughout the rest of camp and practice sessions throughout the early fall of the preseason, but also whatever games that they get playtime in. I don't know if we're going to be seeing them tonight in Tulsa, but I imagine we'll be seeing them again on the ice sometime soon, because I imagine the coaching staff is going to want to give them as many opportunities as possible to go out and show what they're capable of and legitimately make their case to be a member of this Dallas Stars club on opening night. Well, coming up next, we will shift our focus to the crease and talk about the performance from Anton Khudobin and Jake Oettinger. All of that coming up after a quick break. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by our friends at BetOnline.net. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your football betting info this season. Find all the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcast, and in-depth articles and analysis on every game that you can possibly find. And as always, BetOnline remains your continued source for all your sports wagering information with live betting and up-to-the-minute scores for every sport out there. It's the fastest and easiest way to check in on all of your favorite games and events, including Major League Baseball, MMA, boxing, and golf. The Major League Baseball playoffs are just around the corner. Aaron Judge looking to break records with his 61st home run, if not more, to close out the season. He and the Yankees are looking to heat up going into the playoffs. The Astros looking like a good team out of Houston, and the National League also looking incredibly deep. If you want to bet on Major League Baseball, betonline.net is the place to do it. You can head to betonline.net or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action happening around the sports world. BetOnline.net is where the game starts. All right, we're moving right along on this Tuesday episode of Locked On Stars. Thank you so much again for making us your first listen of the day. And we saw the return last night of number 35, Anton Khudobin, getting the start in the first period against the St. Louis Blues team in this very first preseason game of the 2022-2023 season. the first time he's playing since coming off of hip surgery in the offseason. We know that last year was a major disappointment for Anton Khudobin, obviously not putting up the numbers or production that we've been used to seeing whenever he was with the Dallas Stars, playing 9 games with the club last season, then spending the majority of his time in Cedar Park with the AHL team, and then still not performing great there either. Definitely had his moments, but not the goalie that he once seemed to be. And then he has these injuries, has some hip surgery in the offseason, been rehabbing, been recovering, but he comes into camp healthy. He comes into this game looking fresh and healthy, and it was just really nice to see Anton Khudobin back playing hockey yet again. I mean, we Stars fans especially know what time and wear and tear and injuries and surgeries can do to a player, especially a goaltender. So it's just nice to see a guy like Anton Khudobin, who is likely near the end of his National Hockey League career, looking to get one last crack, whether it's with the Stars this season or if he's going to play really well this preseason and have a good camp. Maybe he has a nice stint with another club this year, depending on what needs arise amongst other teams throughout the NHL. And the Stars obviously looking to maybe offload some cap space in order to get Jason Robertson officially back with the team. But nonetheless, Anton Khudobin, fantastic to see him playing. Really, really love to see him back out on the ice. And he really looked pretty good, all things considered. He saves 11 of 13 shots and saves 3 of 3 power play attempts against him. He does give up 2 goals, but you could argue that some of those goals given up are not completely on him, and you can also assess some of the blame to the defense and his teammates as well. But there were several instances where Anton Khudobin had to be, flexible and be athletic and use his body to make plays. And whether or not he made the save, it was just encouraging to see that he can still move and still be mobile in the crease. I mean, a lot of times with goalies, especially in their mid to late 30s, like Anton Khudobin, sometimes you see them come off surgery and they're not as mobile, they're not able to move as efficiently. But especially at the beginning of that game, Khudobin looked like he had quite a bit of a nice bounce in his step and really looked to be really healthy, really probably maybe the healthiest he's looked since the end of that Stanley Cup run back in 2020. I know he, as well as many other guys, kind of came into that 2021 season banged up and not 100% at their best, and that's a huge reason why Jake Oettinger had to come and make his appearance in the NHL that season. So Anton Khudobin, all things considered, looked really good. I'm curious to see how much more play time he gets this preseason. Can't imagine we'll be seeing him tonight in Tulsa. I think that it could very well be a Scott Wedgwood kind of night, maybe a Matt Murray appearance at some point in the game. I'm not really sure how the coaching staff will divide that up. Recording this late on Monday night, so haven't really seen anything as far as lineups for tonight's game against the Arizona Coyotes. But Jake Oettinger also making an appearance in this game as well. A little bit of a longer appearance, as it was said by Coach Pete DeBoer before the game that Anton Khudobin would start the first period, and then Jake Oettinger would come out and play periods 2 through 3. And he, like Anton Khudobin, looked pretty good, all things considered. And I know the Stars fans at the American Airlines Center were very happy and excited to see Jake Oettinger making an appearance in front of the Stars faithful for the first time since his heroics in that 7-game playoff series against the Calgary Flames back in May. And the goals that Jake Oettinger surrendered, 2 of them, similar to Anton Khudobin's, not really his fault, and really more a result of the Stars as a team putting themselves in an unfortunate situation rather than, Jake Oettinger making a mistake in his own right. The first goal that he gives up, and this was kind of a theme of the game, the St. Louis Blues did an excellent job at crowding the net. I mean, they would shoot these pucks from the blue line or shoot them from far out where, you're probably not getting a goal off that shot. You shoot it 100 times, you maybe get a goal once or twice because any NHL goalie is going to make that stop. But they did a great job of getting those second chance opportunities, and that's exactly what happened on the first goal that Jake Oettinger gave up. There were 2 or 3 Blues players around the net, and really only kind of one Dallas Star in the area to try to make a stop, and Jake Oettinger just had way too much on his plate and was unable to prevent the puck from going into the back of the net. And then the second goal he surrenders was really a result of a Wyatt Johnston turnover in the defensive zone that the Blues were able to capitalize on, and Jake Oettinger just put in an unfortunate situation, kind of left in a one-on-one scenario with the St. Louis Blues forward. The name of the player that scored is escaping me at the moment, but not really anything to be concerned about on the goalie front. I think both guys looked good, given the hands that they were dealt, and given that it is the first real look at really any competition besides their own teammates that they've had in quite some time, especially Anton Khudobin, but even Jake Oettinger. He hasn't played a competitive game of hockey since that Game 7 against the Calgary Flames, so if they're shaking off the rust and they're getting back in the swing of things, I think both guys looked really good. And really the concern here is with the play on the defense and the defenseman play, the guys that are allowing the other team to crowd the net and not give the goalie a lot of room. And while that was concerning to watch on Monday night, I don't think it's something that's going to be too concerning throughout the season, because if you look at this defensive core that played tonight, it was a pretty inexperienced group. Esa Lindell, the longest tenured Dallas Stars defenseman that played. Yanni Hakanpää also has some decent experience getting to play a lot last season, but then you look at the rest of the roster defensively, and it's a lot of inexperience with Lundqvist, Harley, Artem Grashinkov, and Joseph Sassoni. So not really a lot of guys that you're going to see on the NHL roster, especially Grashinkov and Sassoni. I don't imagine that they'll make the NHL roster to open the season. You have them, but then you even have Lundqvist, who has under 30 NHL games played. Thomas Harley, not too many games under his belt either. Both those guys kind of still finding their footing, especially as where they stand on this Dallas Stars team, and that's what the preseason's for. That's what training camp's for. You're going to make mistakes. There's going to be lapses in judgment, and you're going to give the other team opportunities to score or put them in, fortunate positions every now and then. So it's okay to make mistakes. This is the time to do it. You just need to learn from those, and hopefully the players know that, and I think also the coaching staff will notice those things as well, and those are things that can be cleaned up and worked on throughout the rest of the time that's built up to the start of the regular season. I mean, there's plenty of defensemen that did not play tonight that I expect we'll probably see some of tonight in Tulsa, and at the end of the day, I think the opening night roster, it's not going to be the best defensive core that the Stars have ever had, but there's going to be way more experience than just Esa Lindell being your number one defenseman. We didn't see Ryan Suter, we didn't see Miro Heiskanen, we didn't see Joel Hanley, so don't worry about it too much right now. It certainly was a little bit of a concern because the Stars also, on their end of the ice trying to score, did not do a very good job of crowding the net and making life difficult for the St. Louis Blues goalies. So I think on the other end, that is something else that can be worked on, as the Stars looking to garner those second chance rebound opportunities themselves. But at the end of the day, the goalies, I think, looked really good, and they just need the help of their defense to help make their lives a little bit easier. So no need to panic right now. I think all things considered, we saw some pretty good play from both Anton Khudobin and Jake Oettinger. All right, we're going to go a little bit rapid fire here and talk about some other players that I was impressed with in last night's matchup against the St. Louis Blues, and then we'll talk a little bit about what we can maybe expect in tonight's tilt with the Arizona Coyotes in Oklahoma. One player I was impressed with throughout the majority of this game against the Blues was forward Marian Studenic, a guy that has maybe kind of been forgotten when we're talking about young, talented forwards within the Stars organization going into this preseason. But he looked really sharp, a guy that the Stars picked up off waivers from the New Jersey Devils last season. He just played with a ton of speed and seemed to be very active and very hands-on whenever he was on the ice. 2 shots on goal recorded with just under 13 minutes time on ice with 12 minutes 55 seconds logged. So not as much play time as some of the other forwards in the rotation, but whenever Marian Studenic was on the ice, you definitely could just tell who it was and where he was, not just because you could see the number and the name on the back of his jersey, but just the way he was moving and the way he was playing. And I think we saw a little bit of that last season, his brief time with the Stars near the back half of the 2021-2022 season. Was pretty impressed with what we saw for a guy that hasn't done a whole lot in his early NHL career, could never really find a proper home or proper niche with the New Jersey Devils, and maybe he's able to find a spot on the Stars roster somewhere in the bottom 6. He just seems like a guy that plays with a lot of energy and a guy that's going to have that high motor night in and night out and not really slow down even as the game continues to go on. And especially if he's not going to be logging a ton of minutes, I think that allows him to use that energy in a little bit more smaller bursts, and he doesn't wear down or get tired as quickly. So Marian Studenic, a guy I was impressed with. Dellandrea certainly has had a lot of hype around him going into this preseason and regular season. He had a pretty good game as well, logged just over 15 minutes of time on ice. Actually was a little bit closer to 16 minutes time on ice with 3 hits and 2 blocked shots. No shots on goal, but still was finding ways to be effective, laying the hits and also blocking some shots, putting his body on the line for the team. And the Stars in general, especially as the game went on, especially in the second and third period, did a little bit better of a job and led the game in some of the bigger statistical areas. Shots on goal, the Dallas Stars led 33-28, and they also won the faceoff battle, winning 56% of the faceoffs to the St. Louis Blues 44%, and they only recorded one penalty on the evening, a Rope Hintz hooking call in the first period. So all in all, a pretty good night, pretty good team effort. It's just the first game of the preseason. You don't have super high expectations for the performances there. So you got to be pleased. And, in preseason games like this, you just have to look for, the positives. I mean, you're probably... It's not too surprising to see a team maybe lose their first preseason game, especially to a team that also has already played another preseason game, coming in with a little bit of an advantage. And the Stars also a new coaching staff, new system. A lot of these guys trying to adjust to a different style of coaching under Pete DeBoer than what many of them had experienced either under Rick Bowness or whatever other coach they were with their previous team. And so the Stars, thankfully, the good part about losing is you always get another chance, and the Stars do get another chance tonight. They look to bounce back in Tulsa, Oklahoma, a non-NHL market. Just like last season, the Stars played the Arizona Coyotes in El Paso, Texas, and tonight they play them in Tulsa, Oklahoma at the BOK Center. That being the three letters, B-O-N-K, not B-E-O-K, like, are you going to be okay? Not that. Not sure what that's named after. Not super familiar with Tulsa. Only been there a handful of times. But they will be taking on one another, the Stars and the Coyotes, at a neutral site in front of a, like I said, non-NHL market. But I know that a few Stars fans have already been in my mentions on Twitter saying they get to be at the game, which is super exciting for fans of either of those teams or just NHL fans in general that live in Tulsa, Oklahoma, that don't get to see too much live NHL action. Very exciting that those two teams get to play there, and hopefully they get a pretty good turnout of some fans that get to enjoy some hockey, even if it is an exhibition matchup. Hopefully there will be some big players that the fans can get to see. Arizona, similar to the St. Louis Blues, already have some other preseason games under their belt. They actually did play the Blues back on Saturday. The St. Louis Blues won that game 5-4. And then the Arizona Coyotes were also in action on Sunday, where they lost to the Anaheim Ducks by a score of 3-2. And I have to imagine that we will see a very different personnel group in this game. There were several guys that did not play on Monday night that I expect we will probably see in Tuesday night's game. It's always kind of hard to predict with these preseason games. A lot of times, at least from what I've seen, you'll see a lot more of the bigger names at home, maybe just because that's where the home fans are. And then on the road, you give a lot of the younger guys and the rookies maybe more of a chance to shine. But this is a different kind of away game where you're playing not really in front of anyone's home crowd. And, there's going to be probably more Stars fans than Coyotes fans in Tulsa, I imagine, just because Tulsa is closer to Dallas. And I don't know if coaches and teams actually take those things into consideration, but nonetheless, lots of guys that you expect to see throughout this preseason and guys that will be on the NHL roster who haven't played yet in the preseason. Tyler Seguin, the newly acquired Mason Marchment, Dennis Guryanov, Miro Heiskanen, Ryan Suter, Scott Wedgwood, Radek Faksa, just to name a few, Joel Kiviranta, Joe Hanley, plenty of guys who did not play in Monday night's game against the Blues that I imagine we will probably see some from in this game against the Arizona Coyotes. And like I said, you never really know what to expect with these preseason games, especially in a non-NHL market, but I just encourage you to keep an eye on social media. I imagine many of the Dallas Stars beat writers, Matt DeFrank, Saad Youssef, Sam Nessler, Mike Heiko, will be on top of letting you know, and the Stars' main Dallas Stars Twitter and Instagram pages as well probably will be posting the lineups at some point. Maybe by the time you're listening to this, you've already seen it, and maybe we will see some of the guys that played on Monday night tonight, but I imagine that we will probably see a good amount of new faces and some more fresh legs for this game. So all in all, there's plenty to work on, plenty of things to, take away from Monday night's game that need to be improved. But all things considered, I think the Stars are off to a pretty good start, especially a lot of the young guys on the team. And hopefully the group that plays on Tuesday night can have a good showing as well, and we can take away some positives from that matchup against the Arizona Coyotes. But that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Stars. Thank you guys so much again for tuning in, for making us your first listen of the day. Be sure to hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Hit that like button as well if you're excited that hockey is back just like me. It just felt right to be watching a Dallas Stars stream last night, to be watching a Dallas Stars game. So excited to have the sport of hockey back. This is one of the best times of the year. We're about to be in that brief window where we have all four professional sports being played at the same time. Such a great time to be a sports fan, Thank you guys so much again for tuning in. You can also find and follow us on your favorite podcasting platform, Spotify, Apple, you name it. You can leave us a 5-star rating or review if you like what you hear. You can also find and follow us on social media at Locked On Stars on Instagram and Twitter. And of course, my personal Twitter handle at Dane_Lewis. But be sure to tune in tomorrow as we'll be reacting to the action from this game against the Arizona Coyotes, as well as talking about other fun preseason Dallas Stars storylines. Maybe we'll see Jason Robertson sign with a team. Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't it be nice to just dedicate a whole episode to Jason Robertson and what his contract means for the Dallas Stars going forward? One can only hope, but it's got to happen at some point, right? Right? Well, I guess we're just going to have to wait and see. But I hope you have a great day, Stars fans. If you're in Tulsa or you're just going to the game, if you're not from there, but you're traveling to go to the game, I hope you enjoy it, have fun, enjoy watching the Dallas Stars play. But in the meantime, I hope you guys enjoy your Tuesday, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.